and welcome. This is Ruth, and today I'm going to show you how to use up some scraps that you might have about. I reckon I'm not the only one that keeps a little bag of scraps, even scrap bits of ribbon and scraps of, let's just have a look here. I wasn't going to open this, but I've got lots of, I've actually got several boxes like this where when I'm making projects I end up with scraps of paper, I end up with lots of little die cuts. I've got too many of them. I put them all into that box. I always intend to use them, and occasionally I do use them, and occasionally I just fill a little box and give them to someone who can use them better than I can. So today I'm going to have a quick look at some ways that you can use up some of these scraps and some of the things that are about on your desk. You don't necessarily need any tools for them. Some of them I have used tools on and some I haven't, so I'll just show you what I've got here. Now, if you want and haven't already subscribed, don't forget to do that and hit the notification bell. I'm calling this video 1 in the hope that I could actually build up a little series, and my real intention was to have some of them filmed and ready, and then I could release them one after the other, maybe a week or so in between. But I've decided, the way my life is at the moment, that's not really realistic. And even as I've just about to publish this, I've had a delivery, and it's quite a lot of things that I have to have ready very soon. The delivery's come a little bit late, and I was enjoying doing this, but I'm going to have to leave it, and I will enjoy what I'm going to make with the stuff that's just arrived too. But anyhow, that means that sometimes my in-between videos may be a little erratic, to say the least. So I'm going to go ahead and release this one, and then come back later when I get time and do another one. So let's go. First of all, you probably have lots of scraps of card, maybe different colours. What I normally do is I keep my scraps in packets like this. I'll keep the full sheets at the front and pop the little scraps in behind. And that way, when I go to the pack, I have myself well trained now that I go to the smallest pieces first and lift those out. And hopefully I don't build up as many scraps as I used to. But you can see as well, when I've got a paper pad, I normally just put all my little scraps into the front of it, so I do have some, actually lots of oddly shaped pieces of paper and card, and I do really struggle to throw those out because I can see something on there that I could use. I could punch a little heart or a little butterfly or a little flower from that, and there you are. Before you know, once you've made a card, you've got loads of bits and pieces that you could make something else with, but getting round to it's the problem. Anyhow, I have now got a little piece of a scrap card here. You don't need any tools apart from a pair of scissors. I've used a guillotine or rotary trimmer actually for this one, and you can leave this straight. But I'm going to go ahead with a little corner punch and round these edges here. Now, oops. Now I can leave that plain across there, plain at the bottom, and just round it at the top. And then I could punch a hole in there, and I have already cut a little mat here that's going to go on, but I want that to match up at the top there. I should maybe just move those away and make that less distracting. There we are. So I have trimmed a piece of patterned paper which I had to suit to put in here, and I'm just going to do exactly the same thing here. I'll round the top edges of that, because that ties it all in together. Now you can see I also had a little bit of ribbon, and it wasn't very long, so I've put double-sided tape along the back of it. I've got another piece here. I know there's no white on this, and I want to tie it in, and although it's scraps, I still want it all to look coordinated. So these are toppers that I could use on cards later, and I'm not necessarily going to even make the cards right now. I'm just going to make the toppers, and then I'll have those all ready, and when I'm ready to make a card, hopefully I'll have something nice there to add on to the top. So this, as you can see, is a length that I had left from something. I've even cut a tail on it there, but I've added double-sided sticky tape onto the back of it, and I'm just going to pop that on there. Now, because of the dimension on that, I would normally put 3D foam pads on there, but that's actually quite thick card, so paper, so I'm just going to glue that on with some Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, and obviously you can use whatever you've got on there. It's all nice and neat. You could, if you have your pieces of ribbon and they're too short, I don't think I'd really use it like that to put it at the end there, because those ends can become very, very rough very, very quickly, and it's really much better looking at the end of it if you just turn it in at the back there, fold it in and leave it nice, and it's got a more finished look to it. And there we are, we can just pop that on there. Now I want a little hole at the top of that, so I'm just going to use one of my little hole punches, but if you have a tag die or anything that you wanted to use, you could just go ahead and punch a little hole or die cut that before you put the ribbon on, and that's a good way of making your little tag there. Now I have some scraps, as I said, some die cuts as well, and I had a little heart in there, and that's why I'm tying this white here with the white there. I could have put a white circle. I have some, a cream circle. I've got lots of those lying about, but I wanted to use that little white one to tie in with here. And sometimes I think if you've got lots of cream card, it's actually really, really nice just to add some white on it to break it up. Now, I have a paper pad from Tonic, and I'll just show you here. This is the way it looks at the moment. Lots and lots of bits and pieces cut off it, little bits punched out of it, and lots of scraps to use up as well. I'll put the name of this on the screen afterwards, but I've just cut a little flower. This paper isn't Tonic, this is Trimcraft, and that little flower just went along with that, so I'm going to pop that on there. I think it looks really nice if it's over to the side, and I've added that on 3-dimensional foam pads because a little bit of dimension really makes this look good as well. If you're worried or concerned about the price of posting, sometimes I just give the cards to people, but just hand them to them. But if you're worried about posting this and you want to keep it flat, by all means, just forget about the little dimensional foam pads in there and everything will be fine. I found another little scrap of ribbon, and I think it's very important just to make sure that you're always coordinating all of this. There's no point in keeping all your scraps and then throwing it all together and it not looking nice at the end. So make sure it's all coordinated, sort of ties in with something at least in the card or on something that's on here as well. And I always love to use little punches, so I've got a little set of these. They're quite old, I'm sure they're 10 or 12 years old, but it makes this one here makes a tiny, tiny little butterfly. And if you haven't got a punch like that, you may have a little die, or you might actually even have some paper that you could fussy cut that off, because it's only taking a little bit. It adds another little bit of dimension if you pop the glue just there in the body and not on the wings and put that on there. And then we can finish this off by adding some crystal drops. And I'm just going to make sure that there are no air bubbles in there, and then I'll pop this out on here. Now, I think that turned out really, really well. You could definitely just tear your paper. You don't even have to cut it with the guillotine or do anything like that, just to keep it nice and neat. But that's ready now that I can put that on a card whenever I feel like it or whenever I'm ready. And that's just a very, very basic card blank there. I'm going to show you in a minute or two how I'm using a different one. This is one that I made earlier, so you don't necessarily have to use all of the die cuts that you've already got there if you have any. But I had this lovely paper here. It's called Beautiful Memories, and that's a 12 by 12 paper pad from Tonic. And obviously this can be any paper pad you have. There's usually lots and lots of bits and pieces that you can fussy cut from it. And I think I showed you a little piece of paper earlier that I was finding it hard to sort of part with, because it had this little pattern on here. And this is why, because I love to just cut these little pieces out and add them on. Now, I actually took the tag from a piece of scrap card that I had, and I die cut it with this die. And this set is actually the luggage box die set, and I had it on my desk because I've been using it lately. But if you don't feel like hand cutting one as I did before, and you do happen to have any little tag die about, certainly that would be lovely to use on a scrap of paper. And I don't even know where I cut this from, but I had it in my box and I brought it out and just glued it along the bottom and trimmed it to suit. So I've put the little hexagons from this paper. This one has roses and some bees and bits and pieces on it. And then I fussy cut one of the roses and popped that up on 3D foam pads and put some of the leaves, I fussy cut those because sometimes the leaves and the flowers together don't necessarily fit in the orientation that you want them on your little tag. So I just fussy cut those and pop them in behind there. And my tiny little butterflies are back on here. And this time I had 2 tiny pieces of ribbon, and I just cut a little tail in each of them and popped them up in behind. And even those little scraps didn't go to waste, but they look really, really pretty on there. I also added some of these little sequins because those sequins and crystal drops and all sorts of things like that just make a really lovely finishing touch to that. And although I have the satin ribbon here, I wanted to pop some twine onto the top of that, and I think that turned out really well. Now I've got a little card here. This is an A2 card. I'm not going to glue this together, but I just wanted to show you. I've got bigger scraps here as well, and I cut that one. I wouldn't necessarily call that a scrap. When I say scrap, I'm usually thinking of something a bit smaller like this. But anyhow, that could go directly on there like that, and you could put something on here. In fact, somewhere here I stamped these out quite a while ago and die cut them. I think they were for a stamp club or something, and it says Hello Sunshine. I can't even remember where I got those, but that would be lovely on there. But if you wanted to break that up a bit and not have the card exactly the same on here, you can take a smaller scrap of card and put it on here to break that up. And because it's double-sided, I think I'd really struggle to know which one would be nice on here, because both of them actually look really good. And it's just a wee bit too much for me. I would like some cream across the centre, so I've cut this out again and put another piece on there. And although I'm not going to glue that together just at the moment, I'm going to use that for something else. I think that's a really lovely way of making a background to use up your topper and put it on top of some paper that you also had left as well. Isn't that really beautiful? I've glued this panel together, although I haven't just glued it onto the card because I wanted to show you the next little one that I've got here. Now this again, this could be cut by hand. There's not a problem at all. That's a very, very basic looking shape. But I cut that with the Peekaboo Memory Book Pocket Slider die set. It's quite a long name, but you can see it in there. And that's this one. It doesn't have a cutting edge at the top, so I've just cut that off myself. And then I've used the next one in to cut some of that patterned paper, because obviously again these are very small sizes, just little bits, and double-sided again. It's really nice, so you could use either side of that. I'm going to put that on there. Now I found this, and again I can't remember where I got it, but I'm going to glue it across the top here, just on the back. And I've checked and it doesn't exactly fit, but it's good enough that I can cut one edge off there. So if I glue that on there, if you don't have little scraps like that, maybe you use them all as you get them, don't forget that you could just use your a little border punch or anything that you have about. I'm sure you've got something that would match that. This is from the big luggage tag die set as well, and again you don't necessarily have to have this. You could even just punch the centre of that, but I'm going to put that on there, and that looks really lovely there. Now I have fussy cut this little flower from the set, and I want to pop that on here, but I thought that just a punched circle, this size is actually fantastic. It's a really good size, and I just want to punch that, and I've lots of them done, and I'm going to glue this on here, and so that there's a bit of the white showing. But I want to put it over the side because this didn't exactly fit, but that's not going to be a problem. So I am going to pop that over there so that there's some of that white showing, and then where that line is directly down there, I'm going to cut this off as well. And then I can put that on there with some 3D foam pads. Now I have a little piece of pink ribbon again, and I just want to have the tails of that coming out of here. So I'm going to fold it over like this and glue it up in behind there. I've put some little sequins on there, so these are just out of the same little bottle I used before, and I had this little gold heart. I have no idea where it came from, but it definitely needs to go in there, because I always think whenever you've got one piece of gold card or one piece of something else, you need to add something else the same colour on just to ground it. So we've got the gold border up here, and it looked a little bit lost without something gold on there, and I'm just popping that in behind, and there we are. That's the third one. And I've got another one here, and this is a piece of card that I had left over, some speciality ice rink card, and I had just enough to cut with one of the dies from this set again, so it's the large one here from the luggage die set, and then I was able to cut the smaller one on here. But I had some ribbon in my little pack, and this is actually just a piece of ribbon that I had dyed with an aqua marker before because I didn't have the right colour to match something, and obviously I had made quite a bit of it and I had some left. So I put some tape down the back. It wasn't this, I couldn't do exactly the same as I did on the one there with the with this one and the white ribbon, because the tape didn't fit on the back. So I've put tape, double-sided tape on here and here, and then I've wrapped that around. And I would have loved to have tied a little bow on there, but I didn't have enough left, and I'm just showing you how you could use the scraps of the ribbon as well, because I just tied a little knot in it and then glued it in behind so that the knot won't come apart, and now I can attach this onto the top of the topper as well. This time I have fussy cut another flower. I know this is a leaf here, but it kind of looks like a stem. Just use your imagination, because you probably won't have the same paper as I have, but just use your imagination a little bit with it. This was quite a bit bigger of a rose, but I cut off quite a few of the petals just to make it sit on here, and I've got 3D foam pads onto the back of that. This little die again is one that I had already cut. I think it's from that luggage die set, and I'm just going to pop that on the back there. And again, you don't need this. You could definitely just put a circle punch on the back and punch a little hole in it, and you'll get something similar of the effect. Or you could just punch a hole through here and it will still look equally good. I had a little butterfly, and that's from the same pad, and again you can see there are loads of butterflies on here, and I've fussy cut quite a few of them in bits and pieces out, and that's going on there. I've just given that a little curve and put 3D foam pads on here, but I'm going to glue the first part of it, the front of it, onto the top of that rose, and that should look really nice. I've got a little tag again this time, and I went ahead and did that before I videoed it. I should have done this in video actually, but I cut a piece off here and then I just set that little piece on there and followed the same shape down here, and that meant I got the same on both sides. And then I'm going to just punch a little hole in the top here, and that should be the centre or thereabouts. Now I've got some lovely little scraps of paper again from this time. This time it's from this set, so it's the So Homemade, and that's a Crafter's Companion set. So I have all of these pieces here, and I don't really want to cut any of the bigger pages. I actually have some of them as well, but I can see I've got several pieces like this, and then quite a few small pieces here. So I am just going to cut those and layer them on here and give a bit of dimension as well. Now obviously I could be punching these out with heart shapes, die shapes or whatever, all sorts of things, but I think I'll just cut them straight this time. And so, actually, do you know what I'm going to do? I am just going to tear them. That's it. I don't normally like tearing paper. I'm always worried that I don't just get it right, but here we go. I glued all that together, and then that little Hello Sunshine that was sitting on my desk I thought would look really nice on there, and I've added some sequins, and then on top of the sequins, I like to do that sometimes, just add a little crystal drop on the top of that as well. and some twine on here, because the twine sort of matches in with that Hessian look as well, and that's quite a really, really simple one to do without any tools at all apart from scissors. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I've stuck to 5 because I think that will keep me more organised and keep it more manageable for me if I want to carry on with this. I do really want to show you loads and loads of ideas that I've got for using up not only your paper but patterned paper, scraps of plain card as well. I've all of these written down. In fact, I've lots of little packets sitting about where I've things ready to do, but I just can't get the time to get it finished. So this is the start, and I hope there'll be some more. So let me know if you do like that. Let me know if you like this kind of thing, if you're got lots of scraps and you want ideas of how to use them, but how to use them imaginatively, and definitely keep them coordinated. That always helps the look of them. You don't want to just have scraps and bung them all together and make a real mess at the end of it. You want to have everything nice and coordinated, something that you are actually going to use on a card or as a topper or even just a gift tag would be really, really nice as well. So again, once again, if you haven't already subscribed, don't forget to do that if you would like to, and hit the notification bell and leave me a little comment. Give me a big thumbs up if you've enjoyed it as well, and leave me a little comment and let me know what you think. And I hopefully will be back soon. I know I will be back soon with other videos, but hopefully I'll be back soon with some more of these ideas of how to use up your scraps. So thank you very, very much for watching in the meantime, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you. Bye bye.